Hi, this is PG of PG's Lumacy. In this tutorial, we will be making the capes for the wise men and the saddle blankets for the camels in the Rainbow Loom Nativity Series. Shortly after I uploaded the videos for the camel and the wise men for the Nativity Series, I received a good number of requests for a video on how to make the piece for the saddle blanket and the cape for the wise men. And I know that a lot of people have only one loom. So I decided to make a video on how to make this 5-band wide piece for the single loom. And I am using a technique that I saw on Justin Stoy's channel when he was making the American flag. That is an interesting piece made on the Rainbow Loom. You might want to check out that video on the Justin Stoy's channel. Here's what we will do. We will first place the bands for these two chains of bands on one side. And then we will pull those bands off the loom and then place the bands for the remaining 3. And then we will reattach the bands for the 2 chains that we've done and then loop the rest of the piece together. Let me show you how that's done. I will be using contrasting colors so we will see where each band goes and how they fit into this technique. So we will be using these green bands, and for the top we will place a horizontal band from the center to the left, and then another horizontal band from the right pin to the center. And then we will place vertical bands on these pins on the side. We will also do that for the center pins. Now we will place horizontal bands that will hold the piece together. I will be using single blue bands for that. I place the bands on all 3 pins in each row. We will not be placing a horizontal band in the same way for the bottom rows, but instead we will place one single band from this left pin to this center pin. And then we will place another band from the center pin to the right pin. These will be the pieces that will hold the bottom of the piece together. And then we will place a cap band on this pin in the bottom. And we will loop that 3 times. 1, 2, 3. If you want the cap band to hold the piece tighter together, you could loop it even up to 4 times. So this is now the layout for the first part in this technique. Now let us loop the bands. And the first band that we will loop will be this band. But you have to make sure that this band that we are looping is on top of this second band. And if not, you redo your placement for the bands. So you go into the cap band and then grab this band in the bottom and then loop it to the pin on the center. And then go into those loops, take out that single band and loop it to the pin on the left. Then we will loop the bands from the bottom going upwards. Now when you get to the top, we will loop the bands going this way. And we will first loop this band. Again, you make sure that this band is on top of this band over here. So we grab it from the top right pin and then loop it to the center pin. And then we grab the band beneath and loop it to the pin on the left. So we went from this pin to this, and then the center pin to the left pin. This is how it will look like when you are done looping the bands. And before we take this piece off the loom, we have to secure these loops in the bottom and these loops at the top. And to do that, I use these stitch markers that you could get from craft stores. You will see them in the knitting and crocheting section. Or if you don't have these stitch markers, you could use toothpicks to secure your loops. And then we will pull this entire piece off the loom. It will help for you to lay down this piece flat on the table so it won't get all twisted, and it will be ready for reattachment to the loom when we are done doing the second part. We have already made the pieces for the ones that go to this side of this project. Now we are placing the bands for the remaining 3 columns of bands. I will be using red this time. We place a band from this left pin to the center pin. It goes in first, and then we place this band from the center to the right. And now we will place the vertical bands. And we will repeat that on all the rows until we get to the bottom. And when we get to the bottom, we are going to place horizontal bands again from the left to the center, and then from the center to the right. These will be the bands that will hold the bottom portion of the piece. Now let us place the horizontal bands for this section of the piece. Again, like we did the first time, we're going to place a single band on all 3 pins in each row. And we don't place a horizontal band on these pins. We are now ready to reattach the first piece that we made on the loom. And I have turned the loom on its side so it'll be easier to work on. This is the top and this is the bottom. We will start by reattaching the loops that we secured. I secured them with stitch markers. If you did not have those, you could secure it with a toothpick. So we insert the hook into the loop and then place it on this pin in the bottom. And to keep it from slipping off, we grab this single band and then loop it to the center pin. Now, very carefully, we stretch the piece because we would like to place these loops on this pin. Okay, so we stretch and we place the loop on that pin. Then, one by one, we will place these horizontal bands. We will place their inner end to the pins. Okay. One by one, we place them on their corresponding pin. Make sure that you are getting the inner end, because if you grab this end, it will twist this piece and it will not come out right. So make sure you are grabbing the inner end of the horizontal band. Okay, and make sure they stay in place. Push them down into the pins so they don't slip off easily. Now let us loop these bands on this side. Okay, so we grab this band and loop it to this pin. You're going into this layer of bands and you grab the band in the bottom and then loop to the forward pin. That's the tricky part, and that's done. So we go back to the bottom, and this time we loop this single band. We go into this loop and then grab that band and then loop it to the pin on the side. So we can now loop these two columns of bands together, going upwards. Now, when you get to the top, starting from this side, the right side, you grab the band that's on the bottom of this layer. You grab that band and you loop it to the pin on the center. And then you grab the band underneath the center pin and then loop it to the band on the left side. And this is how it will look like when you are done looping the bands for the second piece. Now we secure these end loops. The end loops are on the corner, the left pin. We secure that with a single band, and then we make a knot or secure with a C-clip. However you may want to secure that, and then we pull this entire piece off the loom. So this is now the finished piece, and we were able to do it in one loom, which is good news for single loom owners. And you just need to change the color combination to your liking, and you could put it on your camel's back as the saddle blanket. Now, if you are going to use this as a cape for the wise man, you need to add a band to the other corner, and you get a matching color band. Either it matches the color of the cape or it matches the color of the figure's tunic. Just insert a hook into the corner loops and then thread a band, a single band, into those loops, and then make a knot. So this will now be ready for attachment to the wise man figure. I've shown how that is done in the wise men tutorial. So that's it. The capes for the wise men and the saddle blankets for the camels in your Rainbow Loom Nativity Series.